Your teeth are rotting right now. Not dramatically, not all at once, but at this exact moment, a bacterium called Streptococcus mutans is dissolving the enamel on your back molars, slowly, quietly, in a way that will cost you roughly $800 to fix when you finally notice it in 3 years. You have a toothbrush, you have fluoride toothpaste, you have dental floss you use twice a year and feel guilty about, you have access to a dentist, antiseptic mouthwash, and the entire accumulated knowledge of modern medicine. The person who lived 10,000 years ago had a stick and their teeth were better than yours. Here's the question that should bother you for the rest of this video. How does a species with no dentistry, no hospitals, no germ theory, and no concept of what a calorie is end up healthier in measurable, documented, specific ways than the most medicated, most food-secure, most physically comfortable humans who have ever lived? The answer is not what you think. And once you understand it, you will not be able to look at a gym, a supermarket, or a box of cereal the same way again. Let's go to Cambridge, 2014, because this is where the story gets genuinely uncomfortable. Researcher Timothy Shaw at the University of Cambridge published a study in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences comparing the bone density of human skeletons across 7,000 years of human history. He measured tibial rigidity, the structural strength of the leg bone, across hunter-gatherers, early farmers, and modern humans. The hunter-gatherers from 7,000 years ago had bones comparable in strength to modern orangutans, not comparable to modern athletes. Orangutans, animals that spend their lives hauling their own body weight through forest canopy using nothing but grip, strength, and stubbornness. The farmers who appeared 6,000 years later in the same geographic region had bones significantly lighter and more fragile, and modern humans are lighter still. Shaw wrote specifically that there is no anatomical reason a person born today could not develop the skeletal strength of a prehistoric forager. The bone structure is still there. The potential is identical. We just stopped using it. Think about that. The human skeleton did not change. The human lifestyle changed, and the skeleton responded by becoming what we asked it to be, something that sits in a chair and carries groceries occasionally, and breaks more easily with every passing generation. That's fine, but here's the question sitting in the back of your mind now. If bones respond to use, what else does? The answer is almost everything. Now here is where it gets genuinely strange, and a little personal, honestly. In 2021, James Fellows Yates, a biomolecular archaeology researcher at the Max Planck Institute for the Science of Human History, published a paper in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences examining the oral microbiome, the community of bacteria living in human mouths, across thousands of years of human history. He extracted bacterial DNA from dental calculus, the hardened tartar on ancient teeth, teeth from humans who lived before farming, during early farming, and after the introduction of processed grain. The finding was specific and deeply unsettling. Before farming, the oral microbiome was diverse, hundreds of bacterial species, balanced against each other, most of them harmless or actively protective. The bacteria associated with tooth decay, Streptococcus mutans, was present but controlled. When farming began, the ecosystem shifted. Carbohydrates flooded the diet. The decay-causing bacteria found an unlimited food source and expanded. The protective species contracted. Within a few thousand years, the mouth that had functioned more or less stably for hundreds of thousands of years had been restructured by a change in diet. Did you know? A 2013 study published in Nature Genetics examined dental calculus from 34 prehistoric European skeletons dating from the Mesolithic to the medieval period. The study found that harmful, decay-causing bacteria became dramatically more common after the agricultural revolution, not before. For most of human history, the mouth cleaned itself. The bacteria living there kept each other in check. We broke that system in roughly 10,000 years, which is, in evolutionary terms, approximately last Tuesday. The ancient human did not brush their teeth. Their teeth did not need brushing. Let's talk about cardiovascular disease, because this is where the data stops being historical and starts being about you specifically. In 2004, researchers James O'Keefe and Lauren Cordain published a review in Mayo Clinic Proceedings examining cardiovascular disease rates among hunter-gatherer populations and comparing them to modern industrial populations. The finding was blunt. Hunter-gatherers and other subsistence-level populations showed markedly lower rates of heart disease, type 2 diabetes, atherosclerosis, and obesity than modern humans, not because they died young before those diseases appeared. To be genuinely genuinely rare. The Hadza of northern Tanzania, one of the few remaining populations who still live as hunter-gatherers, walk between 9 and 14 kilometers per day, not as exercise, as life. They do not have a gym membership. They have no concept of a gym membership. They move because moving is what the day requires. Their cardiovascular health profiles are, by clinical measurement, dramatically better than those of age-matched Western populations. But here is the thing nobody says out loud. The Hadza also experience hunger. Real hunger. Not I skipped lunch hunger. Days with very little food, and then days with a great deal of food. Their caloric intake is irregular in a way that modern nutrition science has spent decades telling us is dangerous. And yet, in 1980, a researcher took a group of diabetic Australian Aboriginal people who had adopted a Western diet and lifestyle and returned them to a traditional hunter-gatherer diet and lifestyle for 7 weeks. Just 7 weeks. The results, published in the medical literature, showed lower fasting glucose, lower triglycerides, lower blood pressure, and significant weight loss across the entire group. 7 weeks. Think about that. The body remembered something the mind had forgotten. The metabolic machinery that had spent 300,000 years running on irregular inputs, high movement, and diverse whole foods snapped back toward its original settings within 2 months of being given the conditions it was actually built for. But wait, here is where the story turns. Because none of this is simple, and anyone who tells you it is simple is selling something. Ancient humans were not healthier in every way. Infant mortality was devastating. Somewhere between 40 and 50% of children died before age 5. Injuries that we treat in an afternoon, a broken leg, an infected cut, were frequently fatal. Childbirth killed women at rates that are almost impossible to process today. Parasites were universal. The Altai Neanderthal, one of the most studied ancient hominins, had gastrointestinal problems, was prone to infection, and based on genomic analysis published in 2024, showed genetic markers for multiple serious health conditions. Ancient life was not a golden age. It was a different set of trade-offs. Ancient humans were not healthier in the ways that required medicine. They were dramatically healthier in the ways that required movement, diverse food, and a body doing exactly what it was built to do. The chronic diseases, the ones that kill most people in industrialized countries today, the ones that fill hospitals and drain health budgets and cut decades off lives. Cardiovascular disease, type 2 diabetes, obesity, osteoporosis, those were genuinely rare. And here is the uncomfortable implication. Those diseases are not diseases of age. They are diseases of mismatch. The mismatch between the body we inherited and the life we built around it. We did not evolve to sit. We sit constantly. We did not evolve to eat processed sugar. We eat it daily. We did not evolve to have the same bacteria in our mouths for life regardless of what we put in them. We restructured our oral microbiome with agriculture and destroyed it further with industrial food. The body did not fail. The environment failed the body. Ancient hunter-gatherers walked 9 to 14 kilometers a day. They carried heavy loads. They sprinted occasionally when something required it. Pursuit, escape, urgency, and walked long and slow the rest of the time. Their arms, in the case of prehistoric women from the Neolithic, Bronze, and Iron Ages, were measurably stronger than those of modern female rowing athletes at Cambridge University. Not comparable. Stronger. They ate 50 to 150 different plant species per year, depending on the season and the region. Modern industrialized diets consist of roughly 17 foods with 3 crops: wheat, rice, and maize, providing the majority of human calories on Earth. Their gut microbiome, the bacterial ecosystem inside the digestive system that regulates immune function, mood, metabolism, and inflammation, was vastly more diverse than ours. A 2021 comparative study found that the Hadza harbor microbial species that have been entirely eradicated from Western gut microbiomes. Not reduced, eradicated, gone, possibly forever. We did not lose these things by accident. We traded them for convenience, for predictability, for food security, for warmth, for safety, for the ability to live past 40 without being eaten or dying of a broken leg. Those were not bad trades, but they were trades. Ancient humans had bones like orangutans, teeth that cleaned themselves, hearts that ran 14 kilometers a day as a baseline, mouths full of hundreds of bacterial species holding each other in balance for hundreds of thousands of years, and gut microbiomes so diverse that modern scientists are trying to reconstruct them from the DNA of ancient feces and the bacteria living in the bodies of the last remaining hunter-gatherer populations on Earth. Here is the uncomfortable truth. Modern medicine is almost entirely dedicated to treating the consequences of mismatch. Statins for the cardiovascular disease we were never meant to develop. Insulin for the metabolic disorder we were never built to manage. Dental work for the decay that only became epidemic after we changed what we put in our mouths. We are not sick because our bodies are fragile. We are sick because we built a world that our bodies were were not designed for and then acted surprised when the bodies broke down. But here is the twist. The body still remembers. That is the part that should give you something. 7 weeks of traditional food and the Aboriginal diabetics improved across every measured metabolic marker. Add load to bones and they rebuild density at any age. Change the diet and the oral microbiome shifts within days. Researchers have documented this. The machinery is intact. It has been waiting patiently under 200 years of industrial food and 40-hour sedentary work weeks for someone to give it the inputs it was actually built to run on. Right now, somewhere in northern Tanzania, a Hadza man is returning from a hunt he started at dawn. He has covered 11 kilometers on foot. He is carrying meat. His cardiovascular system is operating at a level that would put him in the top percentile of any clinical health study in the world. He has no gym membership, no dietary supplement, no standing desk. He has a body doing exactly what 300,000 years of evolution built it to do. He is not healthy despite his lifestyle. He is healthy because of it. If this permanently changed how you think about your own body, hit that like button right now and subscribe, because next time we are asking a question that sounds absurd until you think about it for 10 seconds. When did humans first realize they were going to die? The answer is stranger, older, and more human than anything we have covered so far. See you in the next one.